Oh, it's okay.
All right. So I love the plaque, or what is that behind you? Is that I guess in the old days they used to do records. They don't do records anymore. So are those CDs or
It's yeah, and in the
okay?
old days they used to do CDs. You can't do MP3s on the wall, but
No.
but like we were chatting, when you go through life and you have a body of work, a few years ago I started to put that up, and it does kind of help. This is our studio loft space in our home in New York, so it kind of, I think, helps to see the things that you've done and where you want to keep going. So that's kind of why I kind of put it up there.
No, I love it. My my ex-husband, who's a physician, never wanted anything up on the walls.
Mm.
And my dad was always like, put up your accomplishments. And so I just recently moved and I don't have anything up on my walls right now. And I thought, my dad passed away last year and I thought, I'm going to take his advice. I'm going to put my degrees on the wall. I'm going to put things on the wall because you're right. You should celebrate your accomplishments.
I think so, and your beautiful daughters are seeing your, accomplishments, and obviously they're thriving. So why not? I think that and beautiful family memories and like little. I love pictures. I love
Oh
artwork. Even
yeah.
if we have a 13-year-old son, and he's like, he loves to do art. So why not frame it, put it up? It makes you happy. It makes a home a home.
Yes, I completely agree with you. My house is filled with photos, family photos, and
Beautiful.
and uh somebody once told me, they're like, your house is like a shrine to your family. And I thought, it
Oh,
should be though, right? That's where
absolutely.
we live. Those are the people that are in your life. That's who you should honor and respect and love and take care of. And they should feel at home when they walk in. There should be things that remind them of who they are. So I love
Absolutely.
that.
I do
Yeah.
too. Even seeing a picture or something, my dad too has passed away, and seeing his picture every day, we have a little plaque, gratitude makes the heart grow stronger, I think is what the phrase is. And I just look at that, or you might think of something that they would have said, or,
Yeah.
it kind of helps inspire your day, which is not a bad thing.
Well, it's funny that you said that. When I would go down the stairs every morning to go to high school,
Yeah.
my dad had this big plaque over the stairs that said, "Remember to learn from other people's mistakes. You will never live long enough to make them all yourself."
That's good.
I thought, oh, it's funny, I'm in my mid 50s now and I still remember that, and it's funny how something like that can inspire you. So
That's a great line
yeah,
too. That's something to think about. Yeah.
definitely, it was pretty cute. So yeah, so like I said, Matt should get on here any second.
Yeah,
When
great.
he Yeah, I don't, he's been coming on later and later. Maybe he thinks I do this
Mm.
for him. So that's okay. He will put on the chat, he will do a countdown. It'll say 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 30 seconds. Around the 2-minute mark, we'll start wrapping things up again. So I'll introduce you.
Great.
We'll feel free to talk as much as you want. I really want it to be just a lovely gift to our listeners as to all the wonderful things that you can offer. And then when we take the break, we'll let them know where they can get a copy of the book and how they can connect with you. I'll do a little brief thing about my business, and then we'll go to break. When we come back, we'll do a reintroduction and go through the whole process again.
Perfect. Thank you. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm excited. This will be fun.
Same as that. Thanks for having me, Fawzia.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. When I saw your bio, I thought, oh my God, she does math and violin. And I thought, I love it. I love it.
Not the most common things, I guess, in some ways. I laugh at like when people say, "What? You studied math or whatever, but you're a musician." I don't get it, math and music. I always was, one or the other, but no,
You know what? It
they
made
work nice.
perfect sense to me. It made perfect sense to me. Hi, Matt. Oh, he's still connecting. He's still connecting. I don't know. There we go.
Hi,
Hi,
good morning,
Matt.
Fuzzy. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Give me a second. Speaker's not working. All right, I think I could hear you now. Good morning, Fuzzy. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing, Matt?
I am good. Good.
I'd like to introduce you to Eileen Ivers. Eileen, this is Matt, my wonderful producer.
Hello, Matt, wonderful producer. How are you?
I'm good. Eileen, how you doing today?
Very well, thanks, Matt.
Good, good. All right, so we'll go ahead and do some quick mic checks. Fozzie, I think you're sounding pretty good, but go ahead and count back from 5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, good. And Eileen, go ahead.
Sure. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Matt.
All right, so are you using an external mic hookup at all, or just the internal on your computer?
No, I'm using a Shure external mic.
All right.
I could give you more input. Can I make it louder, softer? Bring it
Yeah,
closer.
go ahead and raise the volume just a little bit.
I'll bring it a little closer, Matt.
Oh yeah, bringing it closer will help too. Yeah. Go ahead and
Okay.
count back from 5 now that it's closer.
Let's see. There's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I can make the input a little
Yeah.
stronger.
No, that's good right there.
Is that good right there? Check 1, 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep, thank you. All right, I'm going to send a hello in the chat. Make sure that's coming through.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, perfect. Then we are good to go. We have about 40 seconds here and we'll get started.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Right. Thank you. And around how long is it, Fozzie, again?
It's a full hour.
Full hour. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you have plenty of time. Like I said, feel free to talk about it. You can tell
Great.
stories. I just really like sharing stories because I think people like hearing stories. They can relate to them. So
Agreed. Awesome. Sounds good.
awesome.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and send the feed over. Have a great show.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Welcome to Focus on Success with Fozzie Acosti. Our program is designed to help you with executive function challenges. Our guest experts offer perspective, experience, and ideas to improve different aspects of your life. Now, here is your host, Fozzie Acosti.
Hi, welcome to the show. Today we have a special guest for you, Eileen Ivers. She's written a new wonderful book called Will Someone Play Bluey? Eileen is a Grammy awarded recording artist, performer, composer, producer, educator, and 9-time All-Ireland fiddle champion. Eileen Ivers is known for her unique musical style and her signature blue violin, Bluey. She tours worldwide and has performed with such diverse artists such as Sting, Hall & Oates, Patti Smith, Chieftains, and guest starred in over 50 symphony orchestras. And she has been a featured instrumentalist in numerous Hollywood blockbuster soundtracks, including Gangs of New York and Quest for Camelot. Billboard magazine called Eileen a sensation, and the New York Times labeled her the Jimi Hendrix of the violin. Eileen lives in New York with her husband and son, and when her son was bullied on the elementary school bus, Eileen was proud to see him learn to return the next day, stand up for himself, and ultimately befriending the child. Eileen connects her musical and family experiences in authoring her first children's book, Will Someone Play Bluey? So welcome to the show, Eileen. I really appreciate you being here today.
Oh, Fozzie, thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, so you have an interesting background. Your background's music and math, which we didn't really talk about yet, which I'm very fond of those two topics. As you know, we chatted a little bit before the show.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about you. Like, how young were you when you started playing the violin? Tell us a little bit about why you decided on music as your career choice.
Great. Sure. Well, again, I guess it goes back to, parents. I had two wonderful parents, John and Annie. They're both from County Mayo in the west of Ireland. So first generation Irish American with my sister Maureen. We grew up in the 33rd Irish County of the County Bronx, New York. I like to kind of tease, but so I started playing fiddle, an Irish fiddle, at the age of 8. I think it was something my parents wanted to gently push myself and my sister toward learning something of Irish culture to kind of keep that going. Many immigrants around then in the 60s, 70s were kind of putting their kids into those kind of elements of Irish dancing or that. music. I started Irish dancing, Fawzia, first when I was about 8, and I just did not like it. Didn't take to it at all. Where the whole class were going one way, I kind of was going the other way, and yeah,
It's a tough sport.
it is a tough sport, absolutely. And to see, I guess fast forward years later, I was in a dance show, Riverdance, and when you see like what they can do, it is
Oh yeah.
amazing, very athletic, beautifully, very artful as well, of course. But back then, Eileen wanted to be playing, stickball on the Bronx streets with her friends in that athlete kind of way. So I think I kind of was shutting down the dance, and I really did like music. My dad, God rest his soul, he used to play a lot of Irish records in our house growing up, and he loved watching the very highly intellectual show Hee Haw back in the day.
Well, surprisingly, I think that was a very smart show.
Wasn't it? I think so too.
I think it was brilliant how well it was put together because it looked haphazard, but it's not.
Oh gosh, exactly, right? As you and your wonderful producer Matt and all the folks on Voice America and anybody in that business, we know it takes a lot to put those thoughts and things together. And the musicianship with the Roy Clark, Buck Owens, of course, incredibly talented performers and stories and jokes, and that you really got it all. But as a kid, I remember there was a guy. I think they were twins, two brothers who played fiddle.
I'm remembering. I'm like, oh my God, I was young, but I remember it.
And I actually, when I'm chatting as I'm talking here, I'm thinking it probably is an extension of how Bluey came to be, because
Okay.
one of the guys had a red, white, and blue fiddle.
Yes,
And do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, I was very
They
visual.
used to stand in this little stage with hay bales.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I've got a YouTube to check that out now. But
Yeah.
I remember thinking
Their
like,
overalls.
yeah, that's right. But you know what? Back then, when I think about, like, I just loved the sound of the violin. I loved how it could be very
Yeah.
emotive. It could make people, it could be slow and cathartic sounding and get emotions that way. But it could also be that yeehaw, really spirited, fast, joyful sound, which is in very much in Irish music and also Americana music. So
Right.
even back in that early years, I kind of remember being very much gravitated toward that. And kind of speeding up through life, I just kept learning it. Had a great teacher, an Irish born gentleman who taught in the back of an Irish pub in the Bronx, and he taught hundreds of kids the music. Fiddles, accordions, flutes, whistles were being taught, banjos. And yeah, years later, I never thought I'd have a full-time career playing music, but it's been an absolute joy. Hard work, but it's been so rewarding, and I feel so grateful.
Well, I really love that you had such an extensive experience with playing the violin and how much joy it seems to have brought you. But tell me how that ties into mathematics.
Yeah,
'Cause you have a math background and you have this really interesting connection with the two. So, and I personally have that connection with my kids because my older daughter loves math. My younger daughter plays the violin. So I really connected with this. So tell me how that connected for you.
thank you, Fawzia, because I do love to chat about it. And I think it's interesting because I'm a big proponent of music in schools, and any way you could get the arts in school, I think is so important for many reasons. Of course, we know there is a correlation between math and music.
Absolutely.
Obviously, mathematics, a beautiful, learning form. It's full of a lot of logic, a lot of beauty, elegant, are some words associated with higher math and theorems and just making things look so beautiful and simple. But the truths are always there. And I think in a lot of ways, music is very much like that, in the sense of just the literal, maybe breaking down harmonies, a 2-to-1 ratio on, say, a string would be, well, that's your full octave, or maybe a 3-to-2 might be your fifth harmony, and all the different dividing things, which is purely mathematical in the way the Hertz scale or whatever, the whole
Yeah.
thing will run. But also, then you get into maybe rhythms or counter melodies and how things fit. Working with a band of musicians for many years, I love to bring arrangements in that are thoughtful, some rhythmic, and I often think, well, the brain now, in mathematically speaking, back in the day when I was in college and post grad work, it does help develop that part of the brain. I think again, just to kind of see the logic that and the method in it all, to work out arrangements, to hopefully recall arrangements and that. So I think it's helped me so much in my music. I laugh, I never really had that day gig. I use that math degree, but I think I use it constantly with music.
Oh, I agree. I think the two are so connected. I mean, I think it's brilliant how you used it to, uh, move forward in your career in music. I think math and music are so connected. Um, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. I think there's probably a lot of people out there that can identify with your story.
There's another quick one. If you,
Sure.
it's like when I remember in college doing a kind of on the thesis part of it, and it was great because I wrote about like Bach and how he wrote, his Fibonacci series would be in his amazing work sometimes, the Fibonacci number, the infinite series in math, right? It would just kind of pop up in different bar numbers of some of Bach's famous fugues and things, and
Hmm.
it was really interesting. We would start chatting. I talked about that a little bit, and the so much of these ratios or series numbers are we find in nature and all that. But it was great anyway. The art and the music part and the mathematics got in a great heated battle with the math professor that was in the room that time and the music professor, and it was really cool because for a second I just stepped back and had the two guys go at it because the mathematician was very much saying, and he would be right, that maybe between two music notes, say an A and a B note, there'd be an infinite amount of notes, obviously in that space, right? Because that's a mathematic thing that, well, you'll never fully reach that. And then obviously the music professor would say, well, no, there's, you have a B flat, A, B flat, B, or maybe in other scales, there'd be more. So it was really interesting how sometimes it would be at odds in certain ways, but of course, they work so well together. So it was kind of a fun
Yeah,
thinking back on that.
that could be a whole show on its own.
Yeah, right. Your listeners now are sound asleep. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, I had all these thoughts. I thought, no, I don't really want to go that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's shift gears a little bit. You've performed with some pretty amazing artists like Sting and the Chieftains. Tell us about your experiences. Tell us some stories about your performances.
Oh, it's been a wonderful career again. I feel so lucky to have been um, just blessed with just meeting people throughout, working with different projects who were just open to having me on board. And the Chieftains, of course, are an amazing Irish band that's been going for so many years. And I did a record or two with them and also toured with them, and it was great. It was like being right there with a hierarchy of amazing Irish music ambassadors, and taught me a lot. Back in the late '90s, I toured with them. Um, to something like on the pop end, Sting, who was incredible to work with. I've always admired his music, of course, and his person. He's just such a thoughtful artist, and even like behind some of the sound check times, the band would just kind of get into jamming, and he'd be always right there to just kind of jam on some tune he mightn't have heard, but of course would be right there, and it was so fun to see that process with him. But he was very open to what the musicians he worked with would bring to the table, and I loved that about him. And he kind of I played on his song, but he allowed me to play what I thought and brought to the table. And again, I was so grateful because I think when you come from your heart and you play in an honest way, it can only be good for the final product all around. So I really appreciated that. Patti Smith was another amazing, iconic, performer that I did a track on her record. It was called Gone Again. And it was a song she wrote for her late husband, Fred, at the time. Many years back now, again, like maybe late '90s, I guess. But that was really interesting because that, again, music and math, right? But my musical sense would have been to do something fancier on the track. But it was such a gut-wrenching song that I asked her, I said, I have a thought and I'd like to try this. And she was great and all open for it. So I went back in the recording booth and I used a crybaby wah wah pedal through my electric fiddle and kind of got this very sort of driven sound from the
Hmm.
instrument, and through like the palette of the wah, bending the note and really making a cry, and kind of just whatever way I did to I thought suited the song and whatever her lyrics were at the time. And it was so wonderful, Fazia, because I came back into the control room. She just gave me a hug and she said, "Thank you. That's what it needed."
Wow.
And that
Nice.
those things like that are wonderful, because you don't know what, especially with music, what's you're gonna bring to the table, and you hope that it's an open, ended kind of back and forth with who you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you have some wonderful stories to share about who you've worked with. Tell us a little bit about the places you've toured. What are some of your favorite places that you've been
Oh
to?
gosh,
Yeah.
again, a long career, and again, thank God, but we've been around around the world, I feel, truly. I guess, well, Riverdance, again, that dance show, I was in the show for about 3 years, and we toured Australia, of course, all around the States, Canada. We went when we went down under, that was really interesting, because that, I guess, was my second time being there, but that was wonderful to see again Irish music and dance being celebrated on these world stages. That was just again such a privilege to be a part of.
Of
Um,
course.
Hall and Oates was a great R&B duo that I shared. I was in the band for about a year, so we were in Singapore and Tokyo and great places out there. And again, I would just kind of get my Irish fiddle out and jump in a jam in an Irish pub, and that really was an eye opener for me, because I said to myself, "Geez, I mean, you're playing with Japanese-born people who are playing Irish music like they were born in the west of Ireland." So that was an amazing insight, to just be in these kind of wacky places playing these tunes that are shared around the world. And maybe just on our own band, like we tour performing arts centers, festivals now coming up in the summer, and symphonies, and to be on some of the Boston Pop stages, or Cleveland Orchestra, Severance Hall, National Concert Hall in DC. Again, for simple like roots music with a lot of heart, it's been such a privilege to be guest artist in some of these amazing orchestras. So just so grateful, Fuzzy. It's been a great ride thus far.
Well, I hope you have many, many more years of the success that you've already had.
Thank you.
What is your favorite type of performance? Do you prefer the studio, or do you prefer live, or do you prefer the pub, or where do you
Excellent
what do
question.
you like to do best, or what do you enjoy the most, I should say?
Guess ultimately the live playing is so fulfilling, you know. I think especially when we've all been shut down from live arts, sadly, for the last few years, to get out to a live audience, break that fourth wall down, and really connect with people. Hear people singing a song you might have written come back to you with a chorus, a
Nice.
reaffirming chorus. There's a song I wrote called Shine that's on our last record. The record's called Scatter the Light. And the record is very much about, ironically, was actually dropped on March 13th, 2020. But we were on the stage. Exactly. Irony there, with musicians definitely not having a good sense of when to release a record. But who knew, right? The world was gonna like shut down. We were on the stage with the Colorado Philharmonic, about to go and finish sound check, and we were told, that's it. We were unsafe to continue. But that record came out, and it was relaunched, obviously, now that we're back to live touring. But the record speaks to overcoming personal hardship, and just to find, the blessings in life, the gratitude in life. And Shine, for example, leads the record off, and it's just a reaffirming song about being good, doing good, and this audience sings back, "I'm gonna shine." And I tell you, playing it last summer in live festivals outside to a few thousand people, when they sang back, I just, at one point, I actually got so emotional. It just hit me. Wow, we needed this bonding so much. You have to be, of course, in a studio to record and create the songs, which is
Right.
a great process, and I love and enjoy so much. But getting out to an audience, hearing, that positive affirmation coming back, and to share a really wonderful experience, nothing like it. It'll
Wow.
never get old.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. It sounds like you really love connecting with your audience, and it sounds like they love connecting with you. Um, One of the things that you have formed your own production company called Musical Bridge with your husband Brian. Um, so you've really followed your dream. You've done the things you want to do with your life. Tell us how you came up with this idea. Why did you decide to start your own company?
Well, it was interesting. I think again, just life, following life and the roads that are given and open, the doors that are there for you and what we choose, of course.
Right.
I think I always had that denial for many years in the 90s where, I had the degree and all that. My parents being immigrants, they didn't have the chance for higher education. But I always loved to play. Like you mentioned, Fuzzy, I love to connect. But I was always that guilt thing, but get that day job, my folks didn't have the easy run. I could have a better, easier life than, starting a production company and playing music is not the easiest road to travel. But again, thank you for asking. As your listeners probably get, I do love what we do, and we've been grateful for amazing, times of playing on stage. So it was kind of shortly after Riverdance, 3 years. The production at the end of the 90s came into New York, my backyard, Broadway bound, and I decided that I should leave because I felt I had done 3 years. I know it was crazy, but it came to Broadway, but I felt, you know what? I just needed musically to move on. And I just started my own band kind of with my husband. We formed this production company, Musical Bridge, named after a little pre-famine musical bridge, literally in the west of Ireland, in a small, tiny, I wouldn't even call it village. And you take a rock and you roll the rock on it and it plays music. So I thought, hey, that's where my mom is from, Musical Bridge. It says a lot of what we were hoping to do with the company, which is, make records, tour, write a children's book, all these things that can kind of from the company go out and do just touch people in different, hopefully positive ways. And that's kind of was the dream. My husband was a software engineer in his previous life and then decided to become our manager, the band's manager. He's a front of house sound engineer, travels with us. He does a lot of the work to put the tours on. So it's a full family kind of endeavor.
I love it. I love family businesses. I think those are the best. Other than your own band, do you produce other bands as well? Or is this your own business just for your band?
Great question. It's funny. I literally recently was saying I'd love to do more production for other folks. It's all about time consuming and that, as we know, but the time hadn't been there, but now I'm very much open to it. I've been approached by some people, so I think it's something I'd love to get more into for sure.
Yeah, I think you definitely have the talent for it. So why not?
Yeah.
How did you cope with the performing arts stages being shut down for so long? When COVID hit, you talked about it briefly, but you shifted gears a little bit. You wrote this wonderful book, Will Someone Play Bluey? But what else changed in your life for you?
Yeah, right. It changed us all very, very quickly, I think. Just to recap, like that story, truly being on this Colorado Philharmonic stage, March 12th, which was the Thursday, and we were told, just to set it up briefly, this visual stays with me because we were told by by the executive director we couldn't continue. So she asked if we could do a quick video, 60-second or something video, to explain to the sold out audiences coming that weekend, many thousands of folks, that we couldn't perform. So I remember just having a solo fiddle with a microphone, and the guys joined me around that one mic. And the stage there was a spotlight in the video just shining down on me, on the stage. And then at the end, the house lighting person brought up all the house lights. And then you could see the whole 360-degree, beautiful, maybe 2,000 seat theater, completely empty. All the orchestra chairs completely empty. So it was a stark visual of what was to come. But quickly, thank God, we got home the next day. We were able to fly back to New York, where the band and I are based. And then it was quick, like, wow, well, we have a child in school, and I have a beautiful mom who was living at home by herself, but needed care. And again, long story short, you quickly go into, well, what can you do to be the carer now? Elder care and remote learning were the two big things. And thankfully, We were able to approach that. It was a great system here in New York with the schooling and the remote learning. So it was immediately into that mode. And then trying to help every theater, every festival, symphonies would approach us to do whatever we could to help them. So we do some live feeds, we do some tracks, create music to help them keep afloat. And then that really kind of kept you so busy, to be honest, for my little world, that I didn't realize it wasn't like, oh wow, well, it so stinks that the record didn't come out. And you weren't feeling sorry for yourself. It was just survival mode and help everybody
Right.
do what they could to get through where it was. And of course we all thought, oh, by the summer we'd be back. And then started to get a little bit tougher. And again, just long story short, you start, well, for me, I started writing. I started to just keep playing music, do a lot of visuals for others. And then eventually, without having that, again, that live experience, wanting to get out and connect with people, the children's book came to my mind. And I thought, you know what, I always wanted to do this. I have the time now, I'm at home. And let me see if I could create this. That's been in my mind. So
Well, yeah, it sounds like you kept really busy during the pandemic, which is awesome because a lot of people didn't have that privilege. And I think that's wonderful that you were able to not only stay busy, but you were helping others in the process and you were staying productive. I think that's wonderful. And this book, will someone play Bluey? I love it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's an awesome book. And
thank you.
yeah, so I want to back up just a little bit. So Bluey is actually the name of your fiddle, correct?
Correct. It's my electric violin that I perform with. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the concept. Why did you decide to write a children's book, and how did you decide on this topic?
The idea came, I think, just the love of books and the love of reading to our son Aiden was something. And as we know, there's great children's books, and there's some you're like, oh, really? Maybe at the end of it, it wouldn't be a favorite, but Aiden loved to read. He loves to read, thankfully, and which is great. And basically, we would read so much together, and then this bullying incident happened for Aiden in school, and it happened on the bus. He came home. He told us, thankfully, we were able to really help him understand that this is not acceptable. You have to stand up for yourself. People can't put you down like this. And if somebody does attack you, you have to fight back in that sense. You have this mentally or whatever ways, we have to stand up for each other and respect each other. And Fauzi, it was like a light bulb just went off. I thought, wow, I play a blue violin. It's such a ubiquitous instrument, but it's blue. There's all the brown violins, and Bluey, my fiddle, truly is different. If I write a book that have a bunch of musical instruments as the characters with the personalities and they speak to each other, then maybe there's a way through these instruments to get a really, really pure, lovely message across to kids that they could take in their heart and say, I get it. It'll touch them. And I was so excited to jump in. The ideas flood my brain. I actually wanted to write it in rhyme and rhythm, which I did.
Yeah.
And I kind of went out to the back of our house here. There are a lot of trees around, and I kind of sketched the preliminary. I made Bluey look like he does, with the F holes being the eyes, and all the instruments kind of came to my imagination, and then the rhythm and the rhyme came. So yeah, I'm super proud of it.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's an awesome book, and I think it's going to do very well. I really like the fact that it's written for kids in a way that they can identify with it. The characters are identifiable. Everyone can identify with music. I mean, it is the universal language. So I love that. I think it's a great book. It's a great concept too, talking about bullying, because it's such an important topic. I mean, so many kids deal with bullying. My oldest daughter actually dealt with bullying in I think it was 5th grade, and the child actually got kicked out of school. And I had told her, I said, kids tend to bully when they don't spend enough time with their parents, or maybe they don't have, a good connection with their parents. And this child got kicked out of school, and my daughter came home kind of angry, and she looked at me, she goes, The other child got kicked out of school. She goes, and I don't think it's because she didn't spend enough time with her mother.
There you go. I don't know.
So,
Yes. No, very, very true.
oh,
And you just have to, we all do the best we can raising, but to be kind is universal truth as well. And you have to be kind, and that's just not acceptable. So, bullying is a real thing. And
absolutely.
put the book out there and have it be just such widely acclaimed and with great reviews. It's just been so cool. It's been, and have kids identify with the blue violin, it is something that they get it. They get the compassion about it, and it's great.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to get ready to take a break here in a minute. How can someone get in contact with you, or how can they get a copy of the book?
Thank you, Fawzia. Well, Amazon, good old Amazon.com. It's right available there. The softcover, hardcover. We have an audiobook coming up on that. It was also on Barnes and Nobles, I believe, as well. And Facebook page, probably Eileen Ivers is the Facebook, and website is there. If you just Google around Eileen Ivers, I'm kind of Instagram all over the place, but
Easy to find.
It's easy to find, Fuzzy. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can go to my website, executivefunctioncoachaz.com. You can subscribe to our Executive Function magazine there. You can also go to our YouTube channel as well as our Voice America page. So we'll be back after these messages, and we're going to talk more with Eileen Ivers, and we're going to talk specifically about her book, Will Someone Play Bluey, when we come back from our break.
All right, good. We're all clear. Back in a couple minutes.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Great. Thank you.
All right. So hopefully you've been comfortable and everything's
fantastic.
going. Okay, good.
You're great. You rock.
Thank you. You do too. You're amazing. I love your background. One of the things that I seem to see this common thread throughout really successful people is they always have tremendous gratitude, and they're always very smart and willing to help and do things for others. And I love that. It takes, a very conscientious, gratitude focused person to be successful.
I agree with you. That's a well said. I think, when you look at the people you admire too, or you see out there, gratitude is key. Sometimes humble beginnings and knowing and being just grateful, my goodness, for where we are, what we have,
Well, I have this philosophy. I don't know if it's true or not, but it is my philosophy. I
love
think
it. It's gotta be true.
I think sometimes in life we're given challenges just so that we can appreciate when things are better. We're given challenges so that when we have great things happen in our life, we have the gratitude and the ability to enjoy it. Because if you have everything given to you, you always want more and you're never satisfied.
Oh, even the whole thing, every kid gets a trophy. Don't even get me on that. I mean, you got to work for it in life, nothing should come that easy.
No.
Maybe friends go through tough times, or family members, like, it does make you appreciate, my gosh, what we have, for sure.
Well, for years, I got some criticism from people that I knew.
Yeah.
Because I never helped my kids with homework. And I'm an educator. I would send them back. I'd say, you go back to your teacher. Either you weren't listening or your teacher didn't teach you something. But that is a relationship that you have with your teacher. I do not get in the middle of that.
And look at your kids, they're thriving.
And so now, here we are 15 years later. Yeah. Everyone who criticized me is calling me for advice.
Wow.
And I said, you never help kids with homework, ever. You don't touch it. That is between them and their teacher.
I mean,
because when they grow up, you can't go to work for them. You can't go you can't go negotiate their new salary for them. You can't help them interview for a job. They have to have that ability to actually do these things on their own. And so when my daughter wanted to go to medical school, one day she just called me. She goes, I think I'm going to take the MCATs. I said, okay, honey, you go right ahead and do that.
Wow.
She got a good score. She was like 19 at the time. She's like, I think I'm going to apply to medical school. I said, okay, honey, just limit it to 5 schools. So she did. She got into 2 or 3 out of the 5.
Wow.
And I said, okay, pick the one where you want to go. She did. She ended up going to the same one her dad went to.
Yeah.
And she was the youngest person in her medical school. But it wasn't, it sounded so like nonchalant and careless, but the amount of effort and work that went into that kid's education was all her. And I told her, I said, I will
Wow.
never take credit for your accomplishments because you did the work. And so when you don't help kids, they actually thrive.
10 seconds.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
I love
So, yeah. So I have a very different philosophy.
that. Yes. Makes sense.
It's worked for me. So,
Yeah.
You are listening to Focus on Success. To reach Fozzie Acosti or her guest on the live show, please call 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to fozia@executivefunctioncoachaz.com. Now, back to Focus on Success.
hi, welcome back. Today we're talking with Eileen Ivers. Welcome back, Eileen. I thank you for being on the show.
Great to be with you, Fuzzy. Enjoying our chat.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying talking with you as well. And I love your new book, Will Someone Play Bluey? It's about bullying. So we talked a little bit about before our break about how you came up with the concept, but I love the illustration in here as well. Did you come up with the idea of how you wanted it illustrated, or did you work with an illustrator and they came up with the idea? How did that work for you?
Yeah, I actually did the illustrations, the very raw ones myself, just to see if it
Oh,
had legs, had ideas, and
okay.
it was interesting. I again just kind of thought about these musical instruments, what they would look like. So I kind of started with
There's
that. I drew
Bluey.
them up. There's Bluey being angry. So the F holes there, again, I thought, oh, that'd be cool for his eyes, and just thought about that. I knew I wanted an audiobook as well as being part of this, so I picked the banjo because I play banjo. Priscilla is the piano. I wanted a little alliteration in there as well. Joe the banjo, Finn is the flute, and then the mean one is the djembe, which is Drake the djembe. So the drum is the mean guy, he's the loud guy, and I kind of just really, again, thinking, well, if it's in rhyme and rhythm, I think that's really important, and true rhyme and rhythm, which was tough. I gave myself like a really hard challenge there because as a first children's book, I kind of reached for, let's go for the rhyme and rhythm, because I love when kids read in rhyme and rhythm. I think it helps us all, learning syllables and spellings and all of that.
Well, it makes those connections in your brain, actually.
Thank you. There you go.
Yes,
Right.
it
So
does.
I
Yeah.
think it was, something I kind of definitely wanted to shoot for. And I came out with it very quickly with the words, and then tweaked it probably for a few months then after, just to get like every word at the best it could possibly be, and they say children's books could be in some ways the hardest to write because it's the kind of the least amount, but you have to kind of get the kid engaged as well as the parents who's going to understand and buy it for their children or whatever. So coming up with that was the idea, and then the visuals were again kind of all done. I was so proud of myself to just kind of go for that, but I am in no way a professional graphic artist at all. So thankfully, with this wonderful woman, actually from the Ukraine, Solomia online, who I met, and she was marvelous through a great company, GetYourBooksIllustrated.com, from South Africa. It was a truly universal experience from New York to South Africa to Ukraine, of getting the book done, and just wonderful folks to work with. They truly kind of honored the vision I was going for, but Solomia just did a beautiful job in bringing Bluey and the colors and the little children to life.
Yeah, no, I love it. The graphics are beautiful. They really are. They're colorful, but they're not too bright. They're just, it's easy to read. We were talking earlier about, children's books and how, some of them you read over and over again and some are not so great. This is one I could definitely imagine if my kids were younger, I'd probably read it to them over and over again.
Oh,
I think there's certain books that, you read over and over again, and Dr. Seuss comes to mind. I think it's because of that rhythm.
yeah.
Kids love that, adults love that. They're fun to read. They have a message. And so it makes it so much more fun for a child to read something like that. It also makes it easier for them to learn how to read, because that rhythm sticks with them. They're like, okay, there's a rhythm to these words.
Exactly. It's funny, even some of the lines, I'm just looking at the book now as well. It's been a while, but you know, I kind of wanted to keep echoing the blue violin as the last sort of thing. So again, when I saw, little kids read it, I loved watching them before. I kind of did a little test audience, but you know, say this I was when I think on page 2 there I started to introduce, there's Finn who's a flute, the banjo is Joe, Priscilla the pretty piano aglow, the drum's name is Drake, loud sounds he does make, but no one plays Bluey the blue violin. And to hear the kids like the blue violin, it sort of reinforces at times
Sure.
that, but it was, I tell you, Fozzie, it was so fun to just kind of put the creative juices in this new way for me. It really, and then to see kids enjoy the book, enjoy the characters, embrace the characters, love and feel sorry for the blue violin and want him to succeed in the end, want him to be picked up by a little kid and to be played and loved and I mean, obviously there's a few messages in here, but how the other instruments see that Bluey will be so unique. He's quiet, he's been bullied, but he has so much more to say. So that underlying theme of, our differences are often our strengths is so key.
You
to
know
me.
what? That is so right. And I always tell my students, you know what? The things that make life hard now, the things that make you stand out now are going to be your greatest gifts later in life. But, I have to tell you, one of the things that I love about your book is how the illustrations match the emotion, and how at the end, Bluey, the pages have more animation, they're more colorful. And I don't know if you can see this, but it just really makes it stand out. I love that. So not only does it have the rhythm, it has the color that matches that emotion. So when children read this, they're going to definitely see, they're going to hear it, they're going to feel it. It's going to really make the book come to life for them.
Thank you. And I have to tell you, it was so fun because, it's such a visual thing, to your point, but doing the audiobook, which we're so behind with work, thankfully, but it's going to be up there very soon because it's actually been all recorded. I wrote the rhythm and I was thinking, I think as a musician, da, 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 like in a feel of 3. So just for example, again, that opening page, on top of a hill, Eileen's music school is cute, made of brick, and is so very cool. Kids come from around, meet up to make sound, but no one will pick up the blue violin. Da 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 da. And then I thought, well, that's like a feel of 3. It's sort of like a jig in Irish music and in African.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I wrote a little jig, like something in 6/8 time form. And what I did, I kind of was sneaky, Fazio, but it's so fun to chat to you because I never talked to anybody about these little subtleties. But I have the jig
I love
that
it.
I wrote on this page here, and I think
Yeah.
one more time. So that's the beginning line. Da 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 da. So it's a theme, and it also was a tune that I wrote and I recorded in the audiobook where all the musical instruments actually are playing together, which is key too.
Yeah.
Again, when you play together, life is good.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And for those of you listening who can't see what we're talking about, you can go, once we're done with the show live today, you can go on our YouTube channel, probably within 24 hours, and see the visual. It's pretty fun watching Eileen do all this wonderful stuff on the show. So thank you for being here today. I really appreciate this. I think the story line is great. I think bullying is such a difficult concept to deal with for kids, but it happens for adults too. So this might even be helpful for adults.
You know what's funny? You just hit it there. I was just now with an assisted living the other day, and this woman came over and she said, "You know what? I can't believe it." She said, "There's bullying in this senior assisted living. It's just crazy." It is, sadly, in human makeup, and of course we see it with kids an awful lot. And hopefully, if that could be kind of stopped or lessened a lot more in the beginning of life, wouldn't that be better through our lives? Just not to have it. So just respect, my goodness, respect each other, We all bring something to the table. We learn from each other. And I don't mean to sound all fluffy and, happy day, but I mean, truly, it's kind of that simple. There's so much to be learned from each other, and respect should just be universal. End of story, and be kind.
I agree with you. I had a student ask me a few years ago, kind of a snotty little tone. He's like, "Why do you care so much?"
Oh,
And so I said to him, I said, "Because I share a planet with you. It's really that simple. If you're happier, then chances are I'm probably going to be happier too, because I don't have to deal with your grumpiness."
there you go. Very simple.
And he just kind of sat there and looked at me, and I thought, that's really the bottom line. We want everyone. I mean, it's not like this fluffy thing. It's a genuine love for humanity. If we all impact each other, no
Yes.
matter what we think, we impact each other. And it's just nice to have a happier society. It's nice to have a happier home or a happier business or whatever it is you're involved in. If you bring that gratitude and that joy into your work, you impact others just like you do if you bring your grumpiness and your nastiness.
Absolutely. You go to the grocery store, you check out. If you just take a second to say, "How you doing today?" I know we all want to rush out in and out as fast as possible, but gosh, sometimes those simple things in life truly make somebody's day. Or if somebody's, looking for something and you just have a second to talk to an older person, who's maybe a little lonely and they want just a little bit of a chat, take a second. My God, your time isn't that valuable. And just connect again. Just be kind and respectful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Bluey's story. Will there be a follow-up story?
It's so funny now that the cast of characters are in place. And I think I kind of, at the end of it, I wanted there to be follow-ups, and I hope, Fazia, to get into the next story already, because I have a few ideas. Again, time is the issue, but that's okay. Then hopefully we'll carve out some time. But yeah, I love that there's 5 identifiable personalities already in the instruments. And I think once you have like these inanimate objects, you're able to move around a lot easier than you would with real kids, maybe in a children's story. So
Right.
I love that. And also instruments do speak, and they have personalities, and they have tones, and they have, little emotions. So
Yes.
through that, and I don't really know of other books that are kind of hitting on those points. So there's a bunch of ideas that I hopefully want to really get to. If
Well,
the
yeah, I can see you having more flexibility to touch on other, serious topics. Like you could even go into like ADHD, you know, the,
Yes.
the kid who just has a difficult time paying attention and is
Yeah.
missing that beat all the time. They can't quite fit into the band, something like that would be kind of funny, because it's true. It happens.
Absolutely. I know very well it does happen, and or teamwork, like what I
Yeah.
thought was just how they all, maybe everybody wants to take a solo, but then in life, the best teams are not the all-star teams, the basketball teams, but a true great team that knows how to give the ball away, have somebody else take that dunk and pass it around, and be true team members, as we know. That's a little lesson in life. So
Well, you were talking about how you have, your husband on your team and your son's on your team and you've got other people.
yeah,
You might be the face of your team, but you have people that do things. We all think we can do things by ourselves, but we really just can't.
no.
I would not be anywhere without my team. I mean, I could not have my magazine without my editor or my radio show without my producer. So we need other people.
We definitely do. And again, the gratitude, to be grateful and to realize that the ego in life could be amazing, that you see, and boy, ego gets you nowhere. I don't get that. I'm just, I know I'd be a mess without Brian, my husband, to work out itineraries and getting from A to B, and to get a 5-member band. I couldn't go up on stage with just a solo fiddle and entertain folks for a long time. I mean, I'd like to think I could, but no way, to have some songs and different instruments in the band and all that. So of course, teams are everything, and it's super important to remember that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are some other projects that you're working on right now?
Well, I have to say, I was chatting about the band and things like that. Just came off a trip from Ireland, and I was playing solo without the band, which was kind of really fun because I was working with different musicians over there. But it's a new project I just launched with a great team of folks in Ireland, another great team, Wild Atlantic Music Tours. So I should just make a shout out to those guys because they're from the southwest corner of Ireland, and they have a great website if folks want to check it out, Wild Atlantic Music Tours. And the Wild Atlantic in Ireland is in the west coast of Ireland. It's this wonderful little route that goes up with some spectacular scenery. And I do a week tour, and I'll be doing three actually next year, one in April, one at the end of June, and one in early July, taking a busload of Americans to the west of Ireland and showing them the real Ireland, the real deal, the real music. We share music and stories and sights and sounds on the Wild Atlantic Way. So that's been a really fun new project that I've been involved in, and I'm really excited to continue with that in the next few years. And again,
Yeah. How does somebody get in touch with you if they want to participate in that?
well, thank you, Fozia. I guess I probably their website that these guys that or I think it might be on ours, but Wild Atlantic Music Tours. If you Google that, it'll come up with their website. And then I know my mug of my face is on there. Eileen Ivers is one of the
Awesome.
musicians that's on there. But it's going to be really cool. We have again, my folks being from County Mayo in the west of Ireland, we go right to my mother's birthplace, and that is so exciting for me to show
Yeah.
my friends from here just where, again, the simple humble beginnings, right, looking at the Atlantic Ocean where my mom is from, and we go up to the land and we see all kinds of incredible sights. Ireland is just, it renews you, I think, again, in just getting over there. For me anyway, it's just it's wonderful reminder of the past and how it fuels your present.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so what are your future goals? Let's talk a little bit about that. We have about 9 minutes before the end of our time together, and I would love to know what your future plans are.
Well, thank you, Fuzia. I think again, having things more opened up now has been wonderful for the arts for sure, for
Absolutely.
performing, and we're seeing a wonderful summer schedule that we're kind of involved in at the moment. A lot of travel, gigs being booked there for the rest of the year. We have a holiday show, Christmas show that is called A Joyful Christmas that I'm very proud of. So it really centers on what that time of year is. And more recordings, I think this tour in Ireland has been an opener for me to get back to the roots of the music as well, and just to simplify it at times. So I'd love to record a record that is a little bit more, more solo oriented than the bigger band productions that I just have been doing. So it's exciting when you wake up every day and there's new things to kind of unfold and to get into. And again, the Bluey book has been an eye opener because to see through a new medium, like we were chatting earlier with your amazing magazine and your business, how you can, hopefully reach out to different audiences in these different ways.
Sure.
Kids are so important. Kids are everything. I love doing master classes in schools, going into a school, they never heard Irish music or bluegrass or Americana. And then they realize, my gosh, this music, which we love to play and represent, has roots in Celtic and Irish, has roots in African music. It's all connected, all of this music. So getting into these schools and showing them the roots instruments, the drums, the accordions, the fiddles, the banjos, how Bluey, my instrument, can go through a fuzz guitar, wah wah pedal and sound, like very unique and different. It
Sure.
blows kids away, and hopefully they get them into, a mindset of learning music and getting out there and kind of maybe even taking us full circle, Fuzzy. We chatted about music in schools earlier when we started our chat. I think music in schools, art in schools is so important to get our mind thinking in the mathematical way, in reading, in moving our body, gymnastics, as the great Plato said back in the day. All of those things should be the well-rounded person. So big
Sure.
fan of all of that.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I love music. I love math. I think it's a wonderful uh, base for everything we do. it is truly a base. And I think what you do is fantastic. And I love the message in your new book. Will Someone Play Bluey? I think it's a fantastic book. If I don't know if you can see it. But yeah, so if you're interested in Eileen Ivers, you can go to her website, Eileen Ivers, EILEENIVERS.com. We'll also have a banner for her on our website at voiceamerica.com, probably closer to the end of the week. And is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience before we close our time together?
I just thank you so much, Fawzia, for what you are doing with the wonderful platform and Voice of America, a wonderful organization. I think it's great to chat about these topics, about bullying, how to make it a little bit less, or at least talk about it, right? So thank you very much for the invitation of being on here. Thank you for what you do and how you express these things and teach us all so much. And just very, very happy to be with you. And I really enjoyed the chat today, Fawzia. Thank you.
My pleasure. It's been a joy talking to you. I have one last question for you. I hope I don't throw you for
no, I love it. Love it.
One question I typically ask most of my guests is, what advice would you give yourself, your 20-year-old self, knowing what you know today?
Great question. I would say my 20-year-old self was very fearful of being an instrumentalist. I'll try to wrap it up quickly, but being an instrumentalist and just being all about my instrument and not speaking about the music, not speaking about the things in my mind that connects it, about these emotions, about being positive, about being all this stuff. And then now I've gotten over that fear of public speaking, over that fear of being, oh, what is she talking about? To knowing that if I got there even sooner, that would have been pretty cool, but I'm glad I got there. So don't be afraid, go for it, touch people. Life is short. It's a wild and precious ride, and be kind.
Nice. Thank you so much. And if you're looking to get in touch with me, you can go to executivefunctioncoachaz.com. You can subscribe to our magazine. And if you missed our last 3 issues, you can go onto my website and take a peek at our last 3 issues. The magazine is free. It's international and it's digital. So you can feel free to take a look at that. You can also listen to our podcast on the website as well. And if you'd like to get in touch with me about executive function coaching, or if you'd like to write an article for the magazine or be a guest on the show, you can submit a request through the website as well, or you can contact me directly. My number is 480-648-1122. And I just want to give a quick shout out to our listeners throughout the world. Thank you for listening. Without you, this show would not be possible. So just a quick shout out to those in Ireland. We do have listeners in Ireland, as well as China and Africa and Canada and all over the US. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Good job today. Good show. All clear.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, you both have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.